see my screen here, which is the ADEA website. The first thing we'll do is obviously log in. And I've just got a couple of fake logins for tonight, so I'll just pop that in. Okay, so this is what the screen looks like once you log into the ADEA website. And the first thing that all of our applicants need to do is go to the My CPD portfolios here on the right-hand side. Once you click on this, it takes you to your portfolio list, and this actual applicant has so one for last year and one for next year, and this person applying credentialing. The one that we'll click on is the previous year and put in some activities into that one. You'll scroll down a little bit and click on the role and scope of practice that you mainly do at your current workplace. And you'll scroll down a little bit further and also see some information here about setting your goals, writing your learning outcomes, and it explains here that you need to set 3 goals for the previous year and 3 goals for next year as well. So to add a new goal, we just click on Add New Goal, and then you can type in your learning goal into this section, and I'm just not going to type anything proper, I'm just going to hit some keys so that we can get through it. We click on Save Goal, and you need to do this 3 times at least. So set at least 3 goals. And then we move on to the CPD activities. So you can see that over the year, you will add to this CPD portfolio as you do your CPD activities, and you would normally set your learning goals at the beginning of the year, but because this is the first time that people are using the system, you'll obviously be setting some learning goals retrospectively. So think about what you might have had as your learning goals at the beginning of your CPD portfolio year. To add in your CPD activities, we just click on this tab here, and we go down the bottom and we click on Add New Activity. You'll select from the 4 different categories. So you've got 3 compulsory categories, 1 in clinical practice, 1 management, 1 research, and your 4th category is professional contribution. So I'm going to click on clinical practice. Again, this might be something like the ASM. When the activity was carried out, we'll have to fit into the year that you have selected. And so it would have been August and the last week in August. When the activity goes over more than at 1 day, just select the day that it started on. Then in the activity type, you would select National Conference, goes for 3 days, and you can see here that you have points per hour, and it is capped at 24 points for this activity, and then it's asking you to put in how many hours you did. So you could put in 24, 20, that sort of thing's fine. Then it asks you which activity which goal this relates to, and you would just select one. And then because you're applying for initial credentialing, you would upload your verification certificate here. So just click on Attach Document. And then you would go and select where you might have saved your certificate. You might have to scan these into the computer and save them somewhere in a folder, or you may have had them on your email and need to save them somewhere on your computer. Once you have attached your document, you can see it there. You just click on Save Activity. To add a new activity, again click on the button down the bottom, The next compulsory category is category 2. Again, just type in your activity, when it was carried out, what the activity was, so you might have done a staff performance or peer review at work, and points per review come up here, and what the question is asking you is the number of reviews. So if you've only done one staff performance or one peer review, you would just put 1 in that column there, in that row. Select which goal this is associated to. Again, attach your document. And just waiting. While we're waiting, obviously you can go back and add more activities to category 1, more activities to category 2, and then you would put in your activities for category 3. And the system won't let you go through and apply for credentialing until you have 20 points in those categories and at least 15 points in the category that's your compulsory one. And this is taking a bit longer than normal. We'll come back to that. Let's start up our re-credentialing application, just so you can see what that looks like as well. So we're going to log in again. Now for this re-credentialing application, you can see here that the membership has actually expired. So before you can proceed to your re-credentialing application, you need to go and renew your membership. But what you can do before this is still go into your CPD portfolios and still add in your activities that you've done over the year to pre-fill back into your application when you're ready to do that. So again, we would select the year that you are applying for re-credentialing for, the past year. Choose your role and scope of practice. Again, add your goals. I'll just try and do this quickly so we can get to this bit. And I'll just add in the CPD activities that it requires me to get through to the next section. So because I've chosen that clinical practice is my role and scope of practice, I need at least 15 points in this category. So again, the easy one is the ASM annual scientific meeting for ADEA. So let's say the 27th. You can also type the date in and it should take you to the right day. Select the type. Now for re-credentialing, you don't have to upload your documentation unless you're being audited. And if you're being audited, there will be a note at the top of this screen to say that you're being audited this year, so have a look out for that. It's in red writing, and you'll see that if you are being audited, and you'll need documentation to prove that you've undertaken these activities. So we'll do So at least one activity in each category, 1, 2, and 3. This is my research category. So once you've put in your category, in your activities, you've put in your learning goals for last year, you've got the total number of points that you need over here. If you did upload any documents, they would be listed down here as 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many you uploaded. This row here, sorry, this column here, the action column, and this cross, if you click on that cross, it will actually delete that activity that you have entered in there. So if you've made a mistake or you want to change something in there, you can either click on this activity description and it will open back up and you can make changes to it, or if you wanted to delete the activity altogether, you would click on this cross, which is much quicker for you. You then go to your learning outcomes and you need to add in 3 learning outcomes, 1 for each of the compulsory categories. So you'll see again that your compulsory categories plus the 4th professional contribution category come up into that box. You do only need to do it for the compulsory categories, but you might like to add in a learning outcome for your professional contribution category as well. So choose your category, enter in how this applied to or changed your practice, and then how it improved your knowledge and your competence, and save that outcome. To add a new outcome, you would click on the button in the left-hand corner again, select which category it belongs to, and type in how the activities in that category were applied or changed your practice and improved your knowledge and competence. And do that again for the 3rd compulsory category. Okay, so that is your portfolio for re-credentialing for the last year. So you've got your 3 learning goals, you've got your CPD activities and the total number of points add up to where they need to be, and you've also got your 3 learning outcomes. So that's for the CPD portfolio for the previous year. So if my membership was due on the 20th of May, which is now expired, this is my portfolio for the previous 12 months. If you go back to my CPD portfolios, you can see that those 3 goals, the 3 activities and the 3 outcomes have all been entered into that portfolio. If I wanted to, I could go back the previous 12 months to that and just keep a record of any of my CPD activities that I might have done in the period from 2013 to 2014. I can also make my CPD portfolio private. So this means that the only person that can see your CPD portfolio and your goals and outcomes is the assessors. So it actually means that the CDE officer, which would be myself or Kerry Oddy, can't see these activities and goals, and we just would put that through to the credentialing assessors. So to start an application, we can click on My Applications, and you'll see here that there's no applications that you've started already. There's a link here to start a new application. Please go to this page. Okay, we click on that. And then what we want to do from here is go to Re-credentialing. So that's the application that I want to go to. Click on Re-credentialing. So you need to scroll down to the bottom of the screen. Please scroll to the bottom of the page to Online Application. And because my membership is expired, it actually comes up with a button that says Renew Your Membership. So that will take me to the Renew Your Membership page, where I can then pay online. And enter in all my credit card details. And I hope that these fake ones work. Maybe not. Let's see. No, but that's okay. We can still go back to the other application. So what would happen if you renew your membership? When you go to your CPD portfolio again, that tab, what will happen is then get a portfolio here that is for the year 2015 to 2016. What you would then do is go into that portfolio and enter in your 3 goals for next year. Okay, so if we go to, actually, we'll log out of this one. Okay, so we're now back to our initial credentialing application where I have entered in the 3 learning goals, which is exactly the same process for re-credentialing. So I will finish off and then go and apply for credentialing. So we've gone back to the CPD portfolio. We're adding in some more activities. And this process applies for credentialing, initial credentialing or re-credentialing. Adding in my learning outcomes for this application.
Hey Rachel, are you still around? I think we lost your audio signal, Rachel. Hi everyone, apologize for the technical glitch. I'll be back shortly after sort out the issues. Thank you. Hey Rachel, can you confirm if you are back to us? We can't hear you at the moment, thanks. Hi everyone.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Go ahead, Rachel. Thank you everyone for your patience.
I'm so sorry. Okay. Now I've lost my train of thought. Oh yes, we're at the next use portfolio where you would add in 3 more goals. So again, these are your goals for the future year. Just typing in a couple of letters to get us through. Obviously, the CDE officer and the assessors will be checking these, so don't do what I'm doing. Just trying to get us to the next step. So you have 3 goals for next year. Because this is the year forward, you may not have had any CPD activities just yet, but we just need to see that you've thought about your goals for next year and they're going to go into your application. Okay, so back to our CPD portfolio tab. You have got 3 goals for next year in the current year. So this is your current membership year and what you're paid to. And this is now your past year, so this is the previous 12 months. What we then do is go to, again, the re-credentialing or the initial credentialing page. So here it will say, please go to the application page to start a new application. So we click on this link. Alternatively, you can go up to the credentialing and education tab. So it takes you to the same spot. So the credentialing online system is in 2 sections. You have your dashboard, which is where your CPD portfolios are, and also if you have started an application, you would click on My Applications and see any applications that you have in here. This can be used all throughout the year. To start a new application, you would either go to this link or to the Credentialing and Education tab. Go down to Preparing Your Application. And for this case, we are doing initial credentialing, but if it was re-credentialing, it would be the same. So initial credentialing or re-credentialing, and we'll go through that process now. Scroll down to the bottom to the Apply Now button. And here is your online application form. So this application is for initial credentialing. For re-credentialing, you have a 2-step application. So you would have step 1, which is your current primary health discipline, and you would have step 2, which is your CPD portfolio. So for your step 1, current primary health discipline, click on your clinical background, and you need to make sure you attach your primary health discipline registration here. For initial credentialing, you also need to attach a CV. So make sure for both re-credentialing and initial credentialing that you attach your primary health discipline certificate at step 1. To do that, you click on the Attach Documents tab. And I hope this doesn't freeze the system. Attach it to there. Great. And again, if it's initial credentialing, you would attach your CV. You then need to click this tab or this box. So just please tick this box to confirm you have reviewed your requirement to attach your CV.
So if your initial credentialing, you need to attach it, but you've also considered if you need to attach it for your re-credentialing. So click that box, go to step 2. Step 2 for initial credentialing is your graduate certificate in diabetes education and management, and this needs to be within 6 years. So it asks you to fill out which university course you did, and also asks you your date of completion. So it might have been the beginning of this year, the end of last year. If it was outside of the 6 years, it would ask you to upload a case study. You then need to attach your certificate and then go to step 3. Step 3 for initial credentialing is your 1,000 hours of practice in diabetes education. So say yes that you have done that, and you are asked to attach that documentation. In this link here, example provided, if you click on that, there's actually an example of what the letter should look like. But the example is also on the ADEA website. If you went back to credentialing and education, preparing your application, you'll see all of the information in there as well. Once you've done that, go to step 4. Step 4 for initial credentialing is the mentoring program. So yes, you've completed that. Please confirm that your mentoring agreement was registered at the beginning of your partnership. And then please upload your certificates and completion forms. Or you can tick the box if you've already sent these to the ADEA National Office. Attach all the relevant documentation that you have on your mentoring partnership, and then go to step 5. Now, step 5 and step 2 for re-credentialing are the same. So in the initial credentialing application, it's step 5. This is exactly the same screen that you will see in step 2 if you're applying for re-credentialing. Again, you need to select your role and scope of practice. Scroll down, you've got exactly the same screen. And this is where you put in your learning goals, your activities, and your learning outcomes. Now, because we have already entered these into the CPD portfolio tab on our dashboard when we first logged in, all we need to do here is click on pre-fill data from CPD portfolios. And you'll see that what comes across is 3 goals from last year and your 3 goals from the next year. So if your membership is active and you have that next year portfolio on your dashboard, you will be able to enter those goals in there and they will pre-fill into your application. If you didn't enter them in your CPD portfolio in the other steps, then you can actually click on add a new goal in this section and the same information will pop up. If you've paid your membership, you should see that you have your next year's portfolio. You put in your goal and then save it to this page as well. From this page, the goal will actually also be transferred back over to your CPD portfolio. So you can enter in goals here and you will see them back on your dashboard in your CPD portfolio profile as well. You then need to click on CPD activities. And again, because we've already entered these into our CPD portfolio, you can click on the pre-fill data tab. And then we'll come across from your CPD portfolio. Again, if you need to add anything extra, you can always add another activity here and it will get transferred back to your CPD portfolio. You then need to click on learning outcomes. Again, pre-fill the data that you've already entered and those 3 learning outcomes will come into that section there. So for re-credentialing, you've done step 1, which was your primary health discipline. You've done step 2, which is your CPD portfolio. And then would be ready to submit after that. For initial credentialing, we just need to tick the box to say that your referee has sent the required referee report to ADEA National Office. So if you tick that box, it means that you're acknowledging that you have organised that referee's report and that we should see it on our end at the ADEA National Office. You've gone through all 6 steps for initial credentialing, or you've gone through the 2 steps for re-credentialing, and you then get to preview and finalise your application. What you can do before you finish any of that and you think you might want to come back later is you can save your application and come back later. So if we click on save, that will take you back to your dashboard. You'll see your CPD portfolio tab, and you can see there that that extra goal I added in for next year has come up in that CPD portfolio as well. If you click on the My Applications tab, you'll then see that you now have an application in there, and you can click on Continue to go back to that application. Click on Continue Application again, and we get to now preview and finalise your application. So you can check out that you've added your attachments for an initial credentialing application or a re-credentialing application if you needed to add your attachments. Everybody, re-credentialing or initial credentialing, will need to have an attachment at step 1 for your primary health discipline. You can go back and edit that step if you need to. You will have your step 2, make sure that you've attached your certificate for initial credentialing. Likewise with step 3, step 4, step 5. It will say you have at the moment 26 points for your CPD portfolio, and this amount of points does satisfy the requirements. What would happen if there wasn't enough points in your CPD portfolio, or there wasn't enough points for the particular category that you needed the 15 points in for your role and scope of practice? It would take you back to that step, and you would have to fill out the rest of your activities to meet that criteria. Down the bottom of the screen, you have 2 check boxes, and you need to check both of those for your application to go through. You agree to abide by the ADEA Code of Conduct, Scope of Practice, there's a spelling mistake, and the ADEA National Standards of Practice for Credentialed Diabetes Educators, and you also consent to ADEA providing the NDSS with your contact details. This is very important to have the NDSS registration number sent to you for your once you are credentialed. The NDSS need to know your contact details, addresses and phone numbers where you're practicing, so they can check that the correct NDSS registration numbers or provider numbers are being used. Then click on Finalise your application and proceed to application payment. Now this is the application payment, the application fee for initial credentialing. For re-credentialing, this page won't come up and it will go straight through to being submitted. So I'm just going to try this again. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so once you have paid your application fee or submitted your application to the credentialing officer for re-credentialing, you could then go back to your dashboard, go to your applications, and what you'll see here is instead of continue, because it's saying that we haven't submitted because we haven't paid the application fee, instead of continue, it would say submitted, and there's nothing else that you need to do. Once your application is in review, it's been sent to one of the assessors or 2 of the assessors for initial credentialing. This would say that your application is in review. Once it has been approved, an email will be sent to you asking you to go back to this page. So you would go back in, click on your dashboard, click on My Applications, and what will come up here in your application list is an action that will say that you need to go and pay your credentialing fee. So that will be both for initial credentialing and re-credentialing, and that's the $55 credentialing fee for the 12 months. So once you have submitted your application, you have had it assessed and approved, you will then receive an email that tells you to go and make that payment. And to find that payment is in the My Applications, back to your application, and there'll be an action here asking you to pay. I think that pretty much covers it. I was talking about the extra information here for credentialing. So for initial credentialing, you have the list of all of the different things that you need for initial credentialing, and in each of those is an explanation of what they mean and what you need to do. For re-credentialing, you have the same information. So criteria for re-credentialing, you will have your primary health discipline, your CPD, your learning goals, and your reflection. So all of that information is in here as well. So we can swap back over to see if you have any questions that I can answer within the next 5 or 10 minutes. And hopefully that explains the re-credentialing site to you and the initial credentialing site. So as I said, basically you have 2 sections to it. You have the application process, which is through this tab here, and you also have the record of your CPD portfolio that you can add to throughout the year, and as you collect your CPD points through your dashboard and your actual login member profile.
Hi Rachel, thank you for that. I've received quite a few questions from my end, so we'll try to address them as many as possible, and then with the rest of unaddressed questions, we will write to you individually to confirm. First of all, after submitting the paperwork, how do applicants know if it was or was not received? Rachel?
Sorry, if it wasn't received?
I guess the question was about how do applicants know whether it was or was not received. Will we receive any communications or any confirmation from National Office to let them know of their status?
Yes. So once you submit your application online, you will receive an email saying, thank you for your application, it has been submitted. And then the next thing that you should hear from us is when that application has been assessed and approved or not approved. So on submission, you will get an email saying that it has been submitted, and that way you know that it has come through to us. If we require any more information from you as the credentialing officers, Terry or myself will contact you if we think that there's any information missing. And we try and do that before we actually send it to the assessors, just so that the assessors, don't waste their time going through it if we can see that there's something obvious that's missing. So if you don't hear from us and you've got that email to say that it has been submitted, then it's all good. Don't worry, and we'll get back to you once it's been assessed and approved.
Thanks for that, Rachel. And the next question is about a CPD portfolio. So what if the applicant entered the wrong year in their CPD portfolio? Can they change it afterwards?
Yes, but not after it's been submitted. So you can always go into your CPD portfolio and change which year you choose. And you can, so if you entered one into your last year portfolio when it should have been in this year's portfolio, you would probably you would need to delete it from that one and enter it into the other one. If you are in your application and you can see that it's wrong, so if we go back to the application, Let's go to the CPD portfolio and go to the activities. So if you can see that your application has a wrong year date, your activity has a wrong year date next to it, you can actually open it back up and just change the year that it fell into and change the date here that you'd like it to change to. And then that will get transferred over to your CPD portfolio as well. If you have submitted and you think you've made a mistake, you will have to contact us at National Office. So either myself or Kerry to make any changes to your application once you've actually pressed that submit button and you've got that email to say that it has been submitted. You can't go back into your application once it's been submitted, because if we have sent it to the assessor, then the assessor won't know what they're actually looking at. So that's why there is that reason that you can't go back into your application if you've already submitted it, because we need the actual application to be going to the assessors without any changes to it. So we need to make those changes manually if you have already pressed that submit button.
Thanks, Rachel. The next question is about the evidence uploading. So the question is, should we upload the evidence regardless of whether or not we have been selected for auditing? And should we do it as we go, or should we leave until the very end of the expiry of this credentialing to do that?
I would absolutely recommend that you upload it as you go. The CPD portfolio is, I guess, a member benefit that ADEA has now provided for members as your personal diary. It's your personal record of your CPD activities that you've done. So by all means, if you've got certificates and evidence, just upload, just attach it. That's your record. It's like your personal diary. So that way, if you are audited in 6 months' time, 8 months' time, it's all there ready to go. I would definitely use that facility if you have the time, and it's really easy to use. So, yep, go for it.
Thank you. And I also received some very individualized questions. Some of it is a case study, more or less. So the question asks, our CDE who manage a private practice with 4 clinics and 2 hospitals, they're also liaising with other health professionals. So can they use this as their management in category 2?
Yes, so you just need to look at the CPD guidelines and the portfolio guidelines and explanations and figure out if what you're doing is fitting into those categories. I've had this question a few times, and we can usually get around adding it into those activities somewhere along the line. If you feel that those activities that you're doing is benefiting you in your professional development and you can't quite fit them into a category, then the other option, and I'll just show you, is to put them into the other category. So when you add an activity, if you're thinking about what you're doing for your management and administration and leadership and selecting the activity type, and the things that you're doing aren't quite fitting into there, or you don't know how they're going to fit into there, but you definitely believe that they are contributing to your professional development, or that they in some way enhance diabetes education in your area, then right at the bottom of the activity type is one called Other. So if you click on Other, it lets you put in the number of hours that you've spent. And if you click on Other, what you need to do is provide a really good description of the activity and how it has benefited your professional development.
Thank you. Now we have a few questions about the learning goals. So first of all, how many learning goals each year do we have to provide? And second of all, does each of the learning goals need to address each of the categories in the CPD portfolio?
Okay, so 3 learning goals, and it is all explained here on the CPD portfolio page. 3 learning goals for each year, so just 3 per year. They need to relate to what you want to learn for the year. So they don't have to be specific for each category, but when you get to your learning outcomes, we are asking you to relate those to the categories. So if you can think about the categories when you are setting your goals, that would be helpful, because when you're doing your outcomes, you are asked to think about those compulsory categories. So in total, you just need your 3 learning goals for each year. They don't have to relate to the categories, but you might think about having some learning goals in each category, because we're asking you to do some activities in each category and your outcomes are related to each category. So when you're writing your outcomes, what the assessors would like to see is that you've thought about the activities you've done, and you've also thought about your goals and how they relate to the compulsory categories of being a great diabetes educator.
Great. So it's definitely the only 3 learning goals each year, regardless or not it's related to any CPD category. Great.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very specific question regarding to, again, the learning goals and category. So there is one CDE that has their credentialing status expire at the end of August. They are aiming to finish the application before attending the ASM. So how can they address the benefit of attending the ASM in terms of learning goals?
Yes, that is tricky. So if they've got either one of 2 options, you could put it in your CPD portfolio and talk about it in terms of what you hope to learn out of it. And I guess what the assessors are looking for mainly is that you're thinking about your learning goals, what activities you're doing, and your learning outcomes. So even if you're talking about an activity that you haven't done yet, but it's within the next few weeks, you've looked at the program, and you could talk about how that might fit into your goals and your outcomes, then the assessors will be happy to accept that, because it's showing that you have thought about the process. The other option is if you wanted to put that in next year's portfolio and explain that it occurred during these dates, but obviously you had to put your CPD or your re-credentialing application in prior to being done. You could put it in next year's portfolio, count the points for next year's portfolio, and explain why it wasn't included in last year's portfolio, and that would also be fine.
Thank you. Now, the next question is regarding to the adjustment of the flexibility of our system, I guess. So does the online system adjust for the extended leave, like maternity leave and all that?
Yes, it does. So what you need to do, and this is that there is also some instructions on our website, so I'll just go back to the Credentialing and Education tab. So preparing your application tab, into Re-credentialing, and down the bottom is a little blurb on explaining the leave exemption or the deferment that you're able to do. If you're going on maternity leave or sick leave that is planned, what you can do is submit a letter of that extent to Kerry or myself at ADEA, and we will put that into your CPD portfolio, and depending on the time taken off work or the time that is in that letter, we will assign points to that. So what will happen is it will go into one of those other categories. We will explain that we received the letter, and we will assign, say, 6 months worth of points or 3 months worth of points or whatever it might be. So if the period off was for 6 months, we would obviously assign half of the points to that certificate. So you would then only need to achieve another 10 points to get your credentialing. But everyone's a little bit different, so please send in your letters to either myself or Kerry, and we will help sort that out for you. But there definitely is a process, and it will take away some of those points that you need to accrue over that time period. If the time period has been for 12 months, then we will assign the full 20 points to that certificate.
Great, thank you. We have a lot of more questions coming in. So if we can't address them tonight, we will endeavour to write back to you tomorrow or the day after.
Yes,
one of
sure.
the questions here is how can we print out or back up the portfolio? So there were a couple of examples here in occasion from members saying that after they enter their portfolio, they click save, but the system doesn't record it. Do we have any solution for them, Rachel?
The CPD portfolios are kept in your profile. So if it's the CPD portfolios that you're wanting a record of, they will always be in your dashboard. So log in, go to your CPD portfolios, and even after you have submitted your application, this will always be here. This is yours and it doesn't move. If what you're wanting is a copy of your application, then we understand that, and we have had other inquiries regarding that, and we are looking into having a print option or a save option of that application before you actually go and press that submit button. But we do have a copy of it. So if there's anything that you need to know or you weren't sure of, please contact us and we can retrieve that information and let you know what it was, word for word, if we need to. But your CPD portfolio is always going to be yours, and you won't lose what you enter into your dashboard. It's just in the application. Once you submit it, you can't see it anymore. So like I said, we are hoping to have like a printable button or an export of some sort that you can save a copy of it later on as well.
Great, thank you. Now, so we move away from questions on the portfolio and the learning goals to timeline. So do we have a rough time frame for between the submitting of the application and being notified from our credentialing committee, and also how long does it take for initial application to be approved or re-credentialing to be approved?
Sure. So at the moment we are still saying that the application process could take 8 weeks for an initial credentialing assessment, or up to 4 weeks for re-credentialing. However, in the future, we hope that that will become a lot quicker, but we haven't had that experience yet, just because of the obvious problems we've had with the online system, and also the backlog of manual applications that we did receive between January and March that we are now entering in and trying to get those through the system as well. So we do apologise for the delay in how long the applications are taking still at the moment, but it's in our intentions that it will not take more than 4 weeks for initial credentialing or 2 weeks for re-credentialing once we are up to date and once the system is working at full capacity. So it is working now. We're still having some teething problems, but the main hold up is just getting through the backlog of applications we've had to enter in manually when the CPD portfolio function wasn't available for the first quarter of the year. So we do apologise, but generally still the same time frame as 8 weeks and 4 weeks, but definitely much faster than that in the future.
Thanks, Rachel. So with all of that flexibility in mind, do we have an absolute deadline of when our members need to apply for their re-credentialing?
We don't have an absolute deadline, and we are being very flexible because it's absolutely not the applicant or our members' fault that it's taking so long to get through the system. So if you're having problems getting it in on time, then just please contact us, let us know, and I'm sure that will be fine. No CDE statuses or no NDSS or Medicare registration provider numbers will be affected at all. If applications are a little bit late, particularly if you're having problems using the website, or the other big problem, I guess, is that people can't access the website or the application online process through some workplace computers, and it's taking a little bit longer to find a computer that they can use. So, yeah, completely flexible. Just let us know we'll help out as much as we can.
Great, thank you. We also have a few questions around the fee, re-credentialing fee. And so one of the questions was, does the annual fee of $55 apply to everyone, regardless their current credentialing status? So for someone, for example, if their credentialing status expired in 2017, does the $55 apply to them?
No, that's right. So if you are credentialed until 2016 or 2017, that will be taken into account automatically through the online system. So once you have submitted your re-credentialing portfolio, but you have already, I guess, paid up until 2017, once you get that email back to say that your application has been approved, if you still go to the My Applications tab on your dashboard, it'll take you to your application, and you will still see a button to say in this action column here, it will still say Pay Now. If you click on that, the amount that will come up is $0. So there will be no charge, and that's automatically calculated by the online system. So the online system has your credentialing expiry date, and if it's not until 2016 or 2017, it automatically calculates how much you will need to pay to take you up to that date. If the amount is $0, you still go through the same process, but you it won't charge you anything, so it'll go through automatically and you won't need to worry about it. So don't be worried about clicking on that Pay Now button. If you've already paid, it won't charge you that amount. So it's only for people that are due now for re-credentialing. They will get charged that $55. If they're credentialed to, in the future, 2016, they might need to pay a small amount of a fee to take them up to the date that their next credentialing date would be, or if it's in 2017, the amount will be $0, and that credentialing fee won't come into play until next year or the year after.
Thank you. The next, we have a few more questions to go through. So again, we will address them. We will write back to you tomorrow after this section. I just want to touch on one of the very important questions that's been quite popular as well. What if our CDE doesn't have access to the internet? What if their current Internet Explorer is not compatible with the system? Is there any other way, or can they still do hard copy of the application?
This year we have helped a few people in that situation. We strongly encourage you to try and use the online system as much as you can, and find somebody with a computer or some access to a computer that you could use to do the online application, because it's not something that we now want to do manually or have time to do. Obviously there's still a backlog of manual applications we're trying to get through. So if you can find a way to use the online system, we strongly encourage you to do that. If you are having real difficulty and real hardship, then we will help upload your application for this year, as we realise that all these changes have occurred all at once, and I guess not expecting that some Internet Explorer versions wouldn't work properly, or knowing that the full system wouldn't work properly on government health department computers. So if that's the case, then we will accept those applications if you have gone through every avenue to try otherwise. But next year we cannot accept those manual applications. So if you are finding that you need us to help you this year, that's fine, but we will need you to find some alternative way to upload your application from next year, absolutely.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm conscious of time and we are a bit behind. So again, thank you everyone for your participation and for thinking through the questions. Obviously, we'll write back to you this week if your questions hasn't been addressed tonight. The recording of this session will be available on the website tomorrow. So, and in the meantime, do contact us if you have any other inquiries.
Thanks everyone. I hope that was helpful, and the recording will be available, so hopefully that's helpful in the future as well.
Thank you. Hope everyone have a good night. Bye.
Thanks, Dee.